As we continue to look at all the candidates that's going to be running for president, we are keeping our message very clear that they must have a black agenda, and part of this black agenda is reparations. We're speaking about this because it's been long enough. Now, we talked about Kamala Harris with this, Cory Booker, Bernie Sanders. No one is getting a pass. No one is going to pick on anyone. No, not at all. Everyone is going to be asked the same questions. Now, our biggest issue with Bernie Sanders, more than the other two candidates, and also Elizabeth Warren, she talked about she has some agreement with it, but she feels Native Americans need to be added. But we'll deal with Elizabeth Warren another time. Bernie Sanders has an emphatic no when it comes to reparations for African Americans. And he doesn't like to even talk about it. He gets a little bothered. But let's roll just some short clips of him and all his denials of reparations.
Your position specifically on reparations. I asked the question because Elizabeth Warren, Julian Castro, they've indicated they want to support.
What does that mean? What do they mean? I'm not sure that anyone's very clear. What I've just said is that I think we must do everything that we can to address the massive level of disparity that exists in this country.
I'll tell you what they mean, because Elizabeth Warren has said black families have had a much steeper hill to climb. We need systematic structural changes to address that. Julian Castro has said, I have long thought that this country would be better off if we did find a way to do that, reparations.
Well, I agree with what Elizabeth said.
So you would support reparations?
But read what she said. What does that mean? She means, I think, I don't want to put words into her mouth, is what I said. Okay?
African Americans are starting to call for reparations for the many years of stolen labor through slavery. Is that something that you would support as president?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it would be, first of all, its likelihood of getting through a Congress is nil. Second of all, I think it would be, very divisive.
Why not support reparations then?
Well, what do you mean by reparations?
By reparations for slave defenders.
I know, but what does that mean exactly?
Money.
Well, I think that right now our job is to address the crises facing the American people and our communities. And I think there are better ways to do that than just writing out a check.
I just wanted to recap that. Now, Bernie Sanders isn't for reparations at all for African Americans, but guess who he's okay with having reparations? His own people. See, if you had an issue about reparations, then you would take that no matter what position that you're in, whether it's your own people or someone else. But he was okay with it for his own people. Now let's go ahead and go to the computer real quick. And I want to show you how he was for reparations for his own people. So ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing here the Holocaust Rail Justice Act. Now this is the reparations that Bernie Sanders was for, because as we know that he says an emphatic no when it comes to African Americans and their hurt and pain, but he says yes to his people. Now, this is the bill that he was pushing for. Now, it says a bill to ensure that the courts of the United States may provide an impartial forum for claims brought by United States citizens and others against any railroad organized as a separate legal entity arising from the deportation of United States citizens and others to Nazi concentration camps on trains owned or operated by such railroad and by the heirs and survivors of such persons. Now, Charles Chuck Schumer, he sponsored that bill. Okay. Now you may say, well, what Bernie Sanders has to do with this one? If we go to details here, co-sponsors, as you will see here, Bernie Sanders. So he co-sponsored this bill. Okay. And this is the bill that he wanted, and he wanted reparations for his people. We're going to prove that. So it just say in the summary of this is introduce a Holocaust Rail Justice Act grants U.S. District Courts original jurisdiction over any civil action for damages for personal injury or death that arose from deportation of persons to Nazi concentration camps between January 1, 1942 and December 31, 1944, and is bought by or on behalf of such person against a railroad that owned or operated the trains on which the persons were deported and that was organized as a separate legal entity, declares that no law limiting the jurisdiction of U.S. courts shall preclude any such action, and no such action shall be barred because a statute of limitations has expired. It makes this act applicable to any action pending on or commenced after January 1, 2002. And that says direct Secretary of State to report to Congress on the status of access to wartime records and archives concerning the wartime activities of any such railroad that engaged in the deportation of such persons to Nazi concentration camps. So this particular bill, remember, Bernie Sanders, let's go back to details here. Bernie Sanders was okay with this for his people. But when it comes to us, it's a no. Now, this bill did not get put before the Congress and the Senate. It didn't get to that point. But it was causing so much stir with this, they started putting pressure on France. So what France did in return with this is say, you know what? Okay, we're going to get $60 million and we're going to give it to the U.S. Treasury for the Holocaust survivors. Take a look at this article written November 3rd, 2015. French to pay $60 million in reparations to Holocaust survivors in the U.S. and beyond. Okay, so Bernie Sanders had no problem with France giving a reparation to his people. Now, they paid the $60 million to the Treasury Department and they dispersed the money to the Holocaust survivors. Now, Bernie Sanders didn't say anything about that. He co-sponsored that particular bill. But when it comes to you, ladies and gentlemen, what does he say? No. That's what he says to you. Now, to get a little breakdown of it, we'll go to the New York Post and we'll scroll down here. They talk about that. And as we come down right here, the money should break down to about $100,000 for each for the survivors and tens of thousands of dollars for spouses. OK, so that's how that was broke down. So they got 100,000 each spouses. You know, people that wasn't even a survivor, they got tens of thousands. But yet Bernie Sanders says no when it comes to you. But he was OK with taking those payments because, you know, he got it. You understand what I'm saying? So Bernie Sanders is extremely foul, extremely. And I'm glad all the receipts are coming out on him. So as you saw, Bernie Sanders signed on to that bill, okay, to try to get a reparation for his people. His supporters try to talk to you on Twitter and say, where did you find that out, that he was supporting reparations for his own people, but not for African Americans? Now you know where to go to. You saw the bill. Now the bill itself, as we talked about, didn't get voted on, but the pressure was put on France. They paid it. We know this now, okay? So Bernie Sanders could miss us with that. This is why Bernie Sanders to us is just canceled. He is not the guy for us because he should understand out of all people about reparations. And he chooses not to go that route, and that's fine. He don't have to. We don't want to vote for him. You see, Bernie Sanders or whoever else is not going to dictate to us, play this little game, play it dumb, try to say poverty and all these little words that you want to use. No, reparations is the talk right now, and we're serious about that. We're so serious when it comes to reparations that if you don't offer it, that's fine. And then we don't have to participate. It's just that simple. And then people will say, well, that means Trump is going to be back in there. He's not going to give you reparations. Didn't say he was. No one said that. But Trump isn't trying to get the black vote, is he? So the Democrats know they have to have the black vote to win. And what we just saw the other day from CPAC with Trump, he's up there literally saying BS. I mean, the whole word on national TV. He's turned the White House to the trailer park. And if you want 4 more years of the trailer park, well, you need black people's participation. And I'm not talking about a small amount of black people. You need all hands on deck to win. You're not going to win unless you are on board with reparations. It doesn't matter what all these other people think or don't agree with, because before the Civil War, 98% of white folks did not agree with black folks not being enslaved. So if we're going to go on that, well, all these people disagree in a poll, then we wouldn't move anywhere. You know, there are people that disagreed with separate but equal. I'm talking about black people should be separate but equal. That's what they wanted. A lot of people agreed that Jim Crow shouldn't end. I mean, there's a lot of things that they wanted to stay. Anything that oppressed us, The majority always wanted it in this country. So when it comes to reparations, they're never going to say, oh, well, it's going to be a popular thing. It has nothing to do with being popular. The fact is you owe that debt and it needs to be paid to heal the evil of America and what they've done to African Americans. And put that money, once the money is paid out, then it can go right back into the economy and actually stimulate the economy. But you really spend trillions of dollars in senseless wars over in the Middle East and spending billions of dollars a year going to hundreds of countries that doesn't benefit us here at home at all. So we're going to continue as time go along with these candidates. We're going to talk about all of them. None of them is going to get a pass from us. Bernie Sanders decided to go that route. Well, that's his choice. But we will continue to also post on our Instagram. Make sure you check us out there. Anything these candidates are doing or saying, Trump too, he doesn't escape that. We'll be talking about it because this is a very, very serious election. Now, when it comes to people like us, we're at the bottom. We are extremely at the bottom. We have nothing to lose. Only thing we can go is up at this point. So our vote is definitely powerful at this point, and we need to make use of it. You can't shame us, as I stated before. You can't scare us about Trump, but that doesn't work. So it's about giving us what we want, like you give every other group. You don't disrespect them. You don't talk down to them. You give them something. And that we want to be treated equally, just like everybody else. But leave me a comment, let me know what you think about this particular story. And one more thing, as I put on Instagram, Bernie Sanders also signed on to the Clinton crime bill that decimated the black community. So do we really think Bernie Sanders is for the black community? And how can anybody that support him in the black community just overlook the Clinton crime bill that he was okay with? And we showed that yesterday on Instagram, okay? He's okay for reparations for his people, but not for you. And you're still going out to support him. Just want to make sure you put out the information, folks.